Hi, Donna Schwartz here. In this video I'm going to talk to you about how to properly clean your trumpet out thoroughly. A lot of people get really afraid to clean their trumpet out. They think that they're going to break something. But the fact of the matter is, all this is just a bunch of pipes. Okay? We do have to be very careful when we clean our instrument, when we take the pipes out, when we clean them, and also when we take the valves out, and that's what this video is for. So let me start by telling you what materials you'll need. I like to have a nice soft towel to put my instrument down. I use a cleaning rod. Selmer makes these. They're about like $3 to $4. Most music stores have them, although you can get them on woodwindandbrassman.com. I use this for cleaning out. Oh, by the way, you're going to get some cameo appearances from some of my dogs, by the way, just to let you know. Okay, anyway. This is for cleaning out the valve casing and for some of the larger slides. I have slide grease. Now, what's really great, in the past, slide grease used to come in these tubes, and you'd open it up and you get your fingers all dirty, and you'd put the slide grease on the slides. And this is perfectly fine to use, but lately, Woodwind and Brassman came out with premium slide grease, which looks like chapstick. It's not. Don't put it on your lips, please. All right, this slide grease, it's great because it keeps your hands pretty clean, and you could apply it in the tubing, which is great. Valve oil. I use Binoc Pro. I recommend that you use Alcast valve oil for beginners and intermediate and high school kids. Binoc Pro is really great though, so I use this stuff. A lot of people recommend that you use a snake. Snake is the same thing that plumbers use to clean out clogs in the drain. Snakes, can look very different. They could look like gray wire, with the wire coming on both sides. This just happens to look a little bit different. It's a little bit more smooth. I actually, to be honest with you, don't recommend using a snake. And the reason why, it doesn't totally clean out the lead pipe and some of the other pipes. Instead, I use a swab. I use a swab for my lead pipe, and I'll also use it for some of the larger slides. The great thing about the swab is that it will totally clean out the lead pipe. This is a silk swab made by the company GEM, G-E-M. I'm not going to lie, this is a little hard to get, okay, but it's well worth it if you can find it. You may have to do a search on the internet for it. A clean rag. You can get a box of clean rags at your local hardware store. Just a small strip would be fine enough. The other alternative, and this is what I like to use, I actually use Simple Green all-purpose wipes. I like these because they're non-toxic and non-abrasive, as the container says. They really are good, and they don't have all that perfume in them too, so those are really good. Okay, so the first step that you have to do, you want to take your slides out. So I'm going to take the main tuning slide out, and actually what I am going to do, I'm going to use the rag, and I'm also going to use the Simple Green wipes for some other stuff later, but I'm going to wipe off all the old grease. Here's where you're going to start to see all those lovely greens and browns and who knows what other colors that you'll see. Very appetizing. Okay, I like to put my slides on the towel so that I know which slide goes for what. Okay, so I just took out my main tuning slide. I'm going to take out my first valve slide. I'm going to hold down the first valve. Never take out slides without pressing down the valve. You'll eventually ruin the valves. You'll hear air popping sounds, which is not a good thing. So I'm going to take out my first valve slide and wipe off all the old grease and all that kind of stuff. I'm going to put that over here. I'm going to wipe off all the old grease from the other part of the slide. Next thing's going to be the second valve slide. That's just a little guy right there. Again, just wipe off all the old grease. And, okay, that's the second valve slide. I'm going to put that right over here. The third valve slide. Now for my trumpet, I have these valve stops, or these slide stops. So what I have to do, I have to loosen these screws. Just going to loosen the screws. I'm going to loosen it over the towel just in case I drop it, because it happens, right? Not every trumpet has this. It's no big deal, okay? It's not, a necessary thing, but a lot of the professional trumpets do. So I'm going to take off both parts of the screw. 12 years later. No, I'm kidding. Actually, I'm not. There we go. Okay, I also have a quieter over there. I'm going to take that off. I press down the third valve and I pull off the slide really carefully. I'm going to move my screws so that they're out of the way. I'm going to wipe off the grease. Again, same idea. Getting some really gross stuff happening here. You want to, by the way, you want to clean out your trumpet, if you can, once a month, okay? I'm going to admit on tape, I haven't done this in a couple of months, so that's not good for me, but you definitely should do it at least once a month. All right, all the slides are out. Next step, I'm going to take off the bottom valve caps, and I'm going to put them in order. So all you do is righty-tighty, lefty-loosey. So I'm going to lefty-loosey this, and I'm going to just place them down for a second. Second one. Sometimes for some of your trumpets, these are stuck, okay? Don't take out pliers or anything like that. You know, there's some things that you're not just going to be able to clean, and you don't want to wreck the instrument, you know, trying to clean it. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to take my rag again. These bottom valve caps can get really gross, okay? So I'm just going to take the rag and I'm just going to clean it out like this. Just stick my finger in there and just clean off all the extra yuckage. And there is some yuckage, it's not that bad. I'm pretty clean with my valves. But sometimes these can get so gross, they could be black. And that's all the dirt that's happening after you oil your valves. Okay, so that's the first one. Quickly do the second one. The type of oil that I use, the Binoc Pro, is just a really clean oil. It's great. And the great thing about the Binoc Pro, I only have to oil my valves like maybe once a month, you know, and I play too, so it's really cool. Okay, valve caps are clean. Next step are the valves. Now, if this is the first time you're doing this, you may want to have a notebook beside you, you know, with a pen or something like that. If you have not oiled your valves yet, or if you've not seen my video on properly oiling your trumpet valves, then here's the thing. When you pull out the valve, look to see where the number is on the valve. There's a number 1, 2, and 3. Valve number 1 is the one that's closest to the mouthpiece. Look to see which direction it's facing. Mine faces towards the mouthpiece. I know that. I know all my valves face towards the mouthpiece. Some trumpets, the numbers face in all different directions for each valve. Some trumpets don't have a number, and you have to go by the groove that's cut out on the inside, and the valve, I can't think of what this is called right now, but the valve guides, okay, whether they're plastic or metal, which way the valve guides are facing. So carefully take it out, make a note as to which way the number's facing, or make a note as to which way the valve guides are facing. They're on either side, they face out. One part of the valve guide's a little bit bigger and thicker than the other. Maybe make a note about that. I'm going to carefully pull it out, very carefully place my trumpet down, take my rag again, a different part of it, I'm going to wipe off the valve. And actually, this is where I'm going to use my simple green wipes. Cleaning rod. I don't sew, by the way, but here's how you do this. You take one edge of the simple green wipe, you wrap it around the cleaning rod, just a little bit, not too much. You want to go in between the holes in the valve, really carefully. Just get all the yuckage out. There's not much because, again, this oil is just fantastic. Then what I like to do, I just like to wipe down the valve with a clean part of the simple green wipe. I place this down, I put my valves in number order. The next thing I'm going to do, take out valve number 2. Same idea. I know which way my valves face, so I'm good with that. Wipe off all the old oil with a clean part of the rag. I'm also going to make sure, I just noticed that my valve is a little loose up here. I'm going to tighten the top piece so that the valve doesn't come apart on me. This valve has a metal valve guide. Okay, one side's a little bit bigger than the other. Okay, I'm going to carefully place that down for a second, pick up my simple green wipe, and go in between the holes. This one's a little dirtier, I see. That's what happens when you don't clean your trumpet out often enough. All right, take a clean part of the rag, just wipe that off, let that dry. Okay, and valve number 3. Valve number 3, behind door number 3. Carefully pull it out, wipe it off with a clean part of the rag. I'm being redundant, aren't I? Sorry to bore you. Maybe one of my dogs will come in again. Okay, I'm going to take the simple green wipe, go in between the holes. That's a little dirty too. I'm not happy about that. Okay, and there. All right, and then a clean part of the rag, wipe it down. Okay, valve number 3. Now, I'm going to take another section of the simple green wipe. I'll go over here. I'm a neat freak when it comes to cleaning my instrument because I don't like dirt. I really don't. All right, carefully pick up my trumpet, not banging it like I just did. Again, I'm going to take the simple green wipe and I'm going to go in the valve casing. The valve casing is what holds your valve, where your valve goes. And I'm just going to go down the valve casing. And I'm going to basically move it around in a circular motion, forwards and back. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to look down the hole for the valve casing. If I see extra dirt in there, I'm going to go down here again and clean it out. That looks pretty good. I'm going to go to, since I got a little bit of dirt on there, I'm going to go to another part of the rag because I'm a neat freak, and then hit the second valve casing. Looks pretty clean, but you never know. You never know what you pull out. Yeah, there's stuff there. Definitely stuff there. Okay, and that's pretty clean. I'm going to go to another part of the simple green wipe. Go down the third valve. This is the valve that usually gets most of the disgusting stuff. Just happens to put mine's perfectly clean. How about that? Anyway, usually get most of the disgusting stuff in the third valve. It just seems to collect there. Okay, now I would throw this rag away. So I'm just going to place this. My garbage pail is out of reach right now. I'm just going to place that over there. Now the next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to use the same cleaning rod, and I could either use the rag or a simple green wipe. I'm going to use a simple green wipe. I'm going to go through some of the larger slides, like the third valve slide. So again, I just go through the hole right here and just wrap it around a couple of times, not too many. If you wrap around too many times, you're not going to be able to fit it through these slides. So I'm going to go through this third valve slide. The cool thing is that it's going to go to the edge of the third valve, and I clean it out. I'm going to go to the bottom part of the third valve. This is going to shoot through the third valve. It's going to go to the second valve as well. And it's going to stop at the second valve. A lot of times gook forms in there, okay? Not too bad, I gotta say. The next thing I'm going to do, I can do this in the first valve. Same thing. This is just going to go right up into the first valve. And then over here. This is a hard slide to clean because of the curve. So I'm just going to definitely make that a circular motion, see if anything comes out, and so far I'm good. Now, this part of the main tuning slide, the bottom part, this is a fairly long slide. So what I'm going to do, since this is a little dirty and you don't want to, again I'm a neat freak, you don't want to rub dirt all the way through the horn, I'm going to go to another part of the rag, wrap this around a couple of times, and I'm going to go through the bottom part of the third valve slide. I'm going to go all the way as far as I can and make a circular motion. I'm actually looking down the third valve to see if any dirt is coming through, and nothing, but I know that there's some dirt there because I saw it on the rag, okay? That's one spot, okay, and that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to use a clean spot on this rag again. I'm going to go through the second valve slide, the two parts of that, the two little parts of that, I should say. Okay. And again, I'm looking through the second valve. I'm also looking through to see if any dirt accumulates in the valve casing. If it does, then what I have to do is, and I'm going to do that right now, go down the valve casing again and just get that extra dirt out. If too much oil in a valve is just as bad as too little. Too much dirt in a valve will make it stick. All right, so you don't want any dirt. Okay, and that looks pretty good. Okay, more garbage. Okay, now the next thing, the main tuning slide. Now again, a lot of you were told to use a snake. Yeah, sure, I could stick the snake through here. That's fine, but you know what? Because of the bristles, it's not going to totally clean out the third valve slide, okay? By the way, you're hearing paws across the kitchen floor. That's my famous pit bull, ferocious pit bull, Snuggles. Okay, anyway, I'm going to drop the weighted end of this swab down the mouthpiece part of the lead pipe. And so it's going out the other end. And just like a magic trick, I'm going to wrap this around my hand once, pull it out. And that, yeah, that's perfectly clean. Sometimes you got to do it a couple of times, but I just needed one shot with that. Again, since I'm a neat freak and I don't want to keep putting dirt to the horn, I'm just going to go to the sink and just rinse that off really quick. Great thing about silk swabs, they're very absorbent. Now there's a great swab company called the Original Swab Company. How about that? That's unique. No, but seriously though, they're really good, and they make swabs for all the woodwind instruments, so that's really cool. Okay, the lead pipe is done. All this part of the trumpet's done. Now I got to get into these things. So what I'm going to do with this, I'm going to use a combination of this swab and the simple green wipes. And what I'm going to do, let me start with my third valve. Mine comes apart in two pieces. So I'm going to first wipe off all the old grease on my rag. Okay. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take another clean, simple green wipe. That was funny. I'm going to go through, since this is a straight corner, I'm just going to go right through and clean that out and make sure there's no dirt left behind. Now, I'm going to start off with the main tuning slide by using the simple green wipe. I'm just going to go down this end, and then I'm going to go down this end. This is where a lot of stuff accumulates. It can get, yeah, it gets pretty gross. I'm going to wipe off the ends. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to use another part of this wipe for my other slides. I'm going to come back to that main tuning slide in a second. For this first valve slide, this should be sufficient. There's very little bit of a curve here, so not so much is going to collect in there. Okay, and I just want to make sure I get all the dirt out. I see some stuff, so you know me. All right, I'm going to be a neat freak. I'm going to curve that a little bit more. There's usually not much happens in the second valve in terms of dirt and stuff. Clean that out, that's fine. This was the other piece of my third valve slide, so this one can get pretty dirty. Okay, great. These are taken care of. Now, what I'm going to do is this. I'm going to take my swab, I'm going to go through the main tuning slide. Just got to be careful with this. Put the weighted end, whether it's top or bottom, it doesn't matter. Put a lot of the weighted end in, and then I'm going to make sure I can get it out the other side. I'm going to pull it through, wrap it around my hand once, and pull it through. Okay? No, I'm not performing a magic trick for you, but I feel like, again, these swabs are the best thing to use for the tuning, for the lead pipe and for the main tuning slide. Okay, I'm just going to rinse it out, shake it out. Okay, and I'm just going to let it dry over here on the napkin, on the towel. Okay, now all my parts of my trumpet are clean, which is great. Okay, so now we put everything back together. Just get my hand a little bit more dry. And this is what I'm going to do first. I'm going to put the valve caps back on the valves. So I'm going to start with valve number 1. And just don't rush through this, because sometimes these are tricky to screw back on, and you don't want to mess up the threading. So just, carefully twist it back on. Don't make it too tight, because the thing is, if you make it too tight, you're going to have a hard time taking them off later. Okay, so now this one is actually causing me a problem, which is good. I'm glad you're seeing that. You want to take your time with it and just screw it on. The third one. That's not threading right, so we're going to go. Okay. There we go. Okay, cool. What I like to do is I like to put all the slides in first. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to attach my third valve slides together, and here's where I'm going to use the slide grease. Again, I could use it in this tube, and that's perfectly fine. Okay, perfectly fine. But I'm going to use the wood and brass one because it's a lot easier. Okay, so I'm going to take my third valve slide. I'm not going to put so much on that it's going to get all, slide grease all over the place. I'm just going to basically put a light coating all the way around. This one's important to put a good amount, not too much, but a good amount of grease, because on my trumpet, on the professional trumpets, there usually isn't a water key on the third valve slide. So you have to make sure that this moves, because that's how you empty out the water. Okay? Believe it or not, I don't have any extra to wipe off, so I'm good with that. Now, the next step, I'm going to attach the entire third valve slide to the trumpet. I have to first grease the slide that's already on the trumpet, and I'm going to just do that right here. This needs a good amount, not too much, but a good amount of slide grease, because if you want to play your low D and C sharp in tune, you have to move the slide. Okay, and now I'm going to put some slide grease on this part of my third valve slide. Again, a good amount, not so much, but just a good amount. And honestly, the only way you're going to know that is just by continually cleaning out your trumpet. You'll know what's going to work for you. Okay, I can't give you a magic formula. No one can ever give you a magic formula for anything. Words of wisdom. Okay. I'm going to take my trumpet in my right hand, this in my left hand, and all I'm going to do is just attach the slides. Okay, and now, since there's a little bit of excess grease, I'm going to take a clean part of the rag and just wipe off the excess grease, because it gets gross if you don't, and make the trumpet gross too. Now for this trumpet, because I have the screws for the slide stop, I have to put this on. So I just do this over a towel just in case I drop it. Because you saw me drop it before. It happens. Just right here. Basically, we set it at a certain position for how far you want the slide to come out. Like for a low C sharp, the slide's got to come out fairly far. Okay, and I make sure, the way I tighten these two screws together is the right one goes in one direction, the left one goes in another, so that I tighten that. Okay? My third valve is set. I'm going to do the second valve next. So again, light ring around. This slide tends to not come out as much, but you do want to have a good amount of grease on this, because you don't want this getting stuck. And while I'm speaking about the second valve slide, you notice I'm not leaning the trumpet on this slide. That's really important. You lean your trumpet on that slide, that will affect the second valve. If you're having problems with your second valve, it's probably because you've leaned the trumpet on this, or this is dented. Okay? Dents on this slide, believe it or not, affect the second valve. Okay? Just to let you know. I'm going to wipe off the excess grease with the clean part of the rag. Good to go. Okay, first valve slide. What I'm going to do is I'm going to apply the grease to the part of the slide that's on the trumpet already. This slide, if you're more intermediate or advanced, you are going to use, because for the high A, it's not really the high, but the A and the F, those notes tend to be a little out of tune, okay, a little sharp, so you may pull it out a pinch, depending on the type of horn that you have. Now that I just got grease all over this, just wipe that off. Okay. Put some grease over here. In order to make sure that your slides don't get stuck, every once in a while, move them around. Make sure that they work. Okay, I'm going to carefully place the slide in, and I'm going to wipe off the excess grease. Okay, we're almost there. Main tuning slide. This needs a good amount of grease. Why? Because you move it every time you play. Okay? I suggest that you don't store your trumpet in the spot where you put it to be in tune. I suggest you move the slide all the way back in. You want to make sure that this slide can move. A lot of the beginning trumpets, the beginner rentals I should say, are not new instruments, and sometimes these slides don't move. All right, I see that all the time. So, you know, you want to definitely check for that when you're renting an instrument. And if you're buying an instrument too, definitely check. Make sure those slides are moving easily for you. Especially that third valve slide, because you got to move that really quick. Alright, so that should be a good amount. Now, for this one I put it in a special way. I put the bottom part of it in first, and I move it around. I move it up and down. And what I also do is I wipe off the excess grease right now. Then I take it out. I'm going to put the top one in, same idea. There's a lot of excess grease there. I'm going to wipe that off. Just like valves, too much of something is just as bad as too little. Okay, pull that out. I'm going to wipe off the excess grease that just formed over here on the openings. And now I start with the bottom part of this, and then I work in, I have a cameo appearance by Robbie, one of our greyhounds. And then I slide my main tuning slide in. I have a little bit of excess grease. I'm going to wipe that off. Yes, this smells wonderful, doesn't it? Excellent. All right, last steps, the valves. I could close up my tuning slide grease. Woohoo! All right. With this type of oil, with Binoc Pro, you really don't need to put a lot on. But let me show you, and again, if you have any questions about oiling your valves, I do that video on my website. Okay, so for the Binoc Pro, I'm going to basically put a ring around the top solid part, a ring around the bottom solid part, the silver part, not this part up here. This doesn't have anything to do with moving up and down the valves. I don't shoot the oil in the holes because that's not going to do anything. I need to put oil on the part of the valve that contacts with the valve casing. So I do a ring around the collar. I put a ring around the top, full way around, a ring around the bottom. And what I also do is I put down one solid part of the valve, one more line. I also drop one drop of valve oil in the valve casing. I should have done that first. I'll do that with the next valve. And I watch it go down. And I put the valve in the way it's supposed to go in. I move the valve up and down many times to make sure that it can move. If it feels like it's hard to move, I need to put a little bit more oil in. Or I put another drop of oil inside the valve casing and I watch it go down. I tilt the trumpet and I watch it go down. Since it's pretty dry in there. Move it up and down. That's better. And I screw the valve cap righty-tighty. I'll know that the valve is incorrect if this locks. You probably can't hear that, but it's locked, so I can't move it. I check the valve. Feels great. Okay. Now, I'm going to take the valve oil. I should have done this way before. I'm going to squirt 1 to 2 drops down one side of the valve casing. Watch it go down. a little bit. I'll do this with the third valve too while I'm at it, since I'm in the same direction. Watch it move down. Then I'm going to do the same thing on this side. 1 to 2 drops, 1 to 2 drops. Watch it move down. Okay. And now I take my second valve. I know my numbers face towards the mouthpiece. So again, I'm going to do a ring around the top, all the way around, a ring around the bottom, all the way around, and then a ring down the solid part of the valve. Notice how I'm doing this over the sink. You could do it over a towel. That's perfectly fine. Try not to get it on your mom's floor. All right. I put the valve in. I move it up and down. That feels pretty good. And I'm going to tighten it up. And it's locked. Nothing feels as good as valves that move well. Okay. Third valve. Same idea. Ring around the top. Yes, I'm being redundant. That's all right. Ring around the bottom. Find a solid part, ring along the side. And then I move it up and down. And then I tighten the valve. Yeah, that's great. Those valves move fantastic, which is really great. The great thing about the Banach oil, it's got a precision tip. A lot of the oils, even the Alcast oil or blue juice, do not have the precision tips. And what happens is you squirt some oil and like a river comes out, which is a pain in the neck. So with the Banach Pro, it's great because it's got that precision tip. Okay, now I'm done. Okay, my trumpet's clean. I'm good to go. However, for some of you, you know, you got your brand new trumpet and you want to polish it up. Hey, that's great. That's awesome. So I have a Bach trumpet, so I have a silver polishing cloth. This is for silver and nickel plated instruments. If you have a lacquer plated instrument, do not use a silver polishing cloth. That's not good. It'll be too abrasive. Okay, it just won't work. This is a brand new cloth. On the inside is a little bit more of an abrasive cloth. So this will get out, like if your trumpet's, you know, tarnishing a little bit, this is the part of the rag that you want to use. And what you do is you just buff it. And actually, I'm glad I'm doing this now because it needed it. This trumpet is from 1984. Okay, so it's pretty old. As you can see, it needed it. Okay? You may think it looks really shiny. It actually does, but to me, you know, I'd like it shinier. All right, and all you do is you just buff the instrument. Just, you know, be careful as you're doing it. I'm just showing you this. I would do it over a towel. That would be the best way. Try to get in the little crevices if you can. Sometimes it's hard. Okay, that's the spots that usually tend to tarnish. Go on the valve casings. I used to have one of those valve casing covers, a clear one, and that was a mistake because unfortunately it made some parts of the trumpet a little bit green. So I never use valve casing covers anymore. It doesn't keep it cleaner. For me, it doesn't. All right, but you know, you do what you need to do. Okay, and just doing a quick polish right here, and that should be fine. What I would recommend, you know, after you polish it, you put the rag away, you fold it up. Yes, I keep the original packaging for all my products. People think I'm nuts. Yeah, I am a little. But, you know, what can I tell you? When I go on a gig and I use my wireless mic, I still have the original plastic from all the parts. It's actually kind of funny. Okay, there's my polishing rag. I would recommend after you polish your instrument, just make sure you do a quick wash of your hands. I'm going to have to use dishwashing detergent because I don't have the foaming soap right over here right now. It's important because you're going to get all that stuff that's on the polishing rag on your hands, and you don't want to be dealing with that. Okay, so that is it for cleaning your trumpet. Okay, so what did we do? Well, as a recap, we took all the slides out. Actually, the first thing that we did was we took out the valve caps, the bottom parts. We took the valves out. We noticed which way the valves were facing. If we needed to take notes, we did that. We wiped off the valves, wiped out the inside parts of the valves using a cleaning rod and either a simple green wipe or a clean rag, okay? Then we took out all the slides, we wiped off all the old grease, really important, and then we used the cleaning rod with a simple green wipe, or again a clean part of the rag. We went through the larger parts of each of the slides. We took out the main tuning slide. We used the cleaning rod with the rag or the simple green wipe. We went through that, but then we also used the silk swab. We went through the main tuning slide. This part of the tuning slide, we used the cleaning swab for the main lead pipe. Okay, I feel that that's the best way to go for cleaning out your lead pipes. And then basically we went on for the most part. After we took out everything and cleaned it, we put it back together. I put the slides in first, and I used my handy dandy woodwind and brass wind premium slide grease. Again, you could use, you know, whatever else you have. For many years I used to use Vaseline. It's okay, but the thing is it tends to break down a lot quicker, so it's not going to last as long. You're better off using a premium slide grease, okay? So I greased up the slides, put them in, cleaned off the excess grease, and then I put the valves in, and I put them in a certain way in terms of which way the numbers face, but I also oiled them a certain way, and you could check my video on properly oiling your trumpet valves for a recap for that. Alright, great. So if you like this video, share it, like it, that would be awesome. Check out some of my other videos on my website, www.donnaschwartzmusic.com. I've got lots of videos there for cleaning out your mouthpieces, whether it's woodwind or brass. I also have some other videos about finding your right trumpet angle. If you're having a problem with your sound, check that one out. Also posture for brass instruments and saxophones, and other assorted videos as well. So if you like this video, check out my website. And thanks for joining me. Take care. Have a great day.